There it is.
24th of March, Rabbi, Furst, Pirkei Avos, Pesach, Haggadah.
Are we doing?
Actually, this is Chumer. We're doing Parsha Hashavua for this time today. Erev Shabbos.
Oh, right, yes. Forgot about that.
No problem. So yeah, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst, as we said. Here in the Yeshiva Tzemach here in the Shloim Care Zoom. This is our Erev Shabbos Parsha Shir. We're learning in Parsha's Vayikra, on the Tavshin Pei Gimel, and the Karbonis, which are listed here in this week's Parsha, that many are for the general Jewish population, and several are for specific individuals, right? And Kohen, a Nasi, a poor person, that there's special consideration for individuals, and they have to bring different karbonos. So if you want to direct your attention to the psukim over here, if you look at the beginning where it mentions about its for example, take a look at Pasuk in Perek Daled, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Yeah.
Daled Gimel. I'm space Gimel Daled. Daled Gimel. Daled sign. Daled
Yud Gimel. Daled Yud Gimel. 13.
Beg your pardon?
13. Fourth chapter.
I see. Daled Gimel. Sorry. What am I looking at now? I'm looking at 4. I'm looking at 13, and
Yes. If you want, you could even read it.
13. I don't know what I've got off, but I don't know where I am. I've got Sadik. What is 13? Is
Yud Gimel.
Yud Gimel. Well, that's Hay. Oh, I don't know what I'm looking at. Just Yud Gimel. Hay. Yud. There we are. Yud Gimel and what? And Vov.
Yud. No Vovs. Chapter 4, verse 13.
Chapter 4, verse 14. Oh.
13. 1-3.
All right, sorry. Chapter 4. Verse 13. Where is it? Oh.
You want to read the pasuk if you want.
Ve'im kol adas.
That's right.
Oh. So I'll read it then. In that case, I suppose. Ve'im kol adas Yisrael. Yishku b'nei elam devar ma'anei hakohol v'asu achas mikol mitzvos ad Hashem asher lo ta'aseh no v'ashemo. And when a sin, no, which is it? 16, 15, 14. Oh. When a sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the assembly shall offer a young bull for the sin and bring it before the appointed tent.
So if you look, pay attention to the first word in that verse number 13.
That's the im or im. Do you want the im, and the translation here is when.
That's not correct.
No, and if.
I have if.
Yeah, it should really be more accurately and if, not just.
And mhm.
Yeah, that's what my English says. And if.
Oh, there you go. That's good. So you look, we'll see in a moment, there'll be other times this expression is used also. Meaning v'im is meaning it's not definitive. Not definitive there's going to be a sin over here, right? Why should we expect the worst? Right? Why should we expect that there's going to be a sin? Right? Not definitive that there should be a sin. Why would you want to
Well,
what do you say, Roy?
I would think the worst.
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't think the worst.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. We're all liable to some sort of failure, whether we mean to or not,
Right.
because we're human.
Yes, that's true.
Now, if we were angels, then I would expect the best all the time.
Right.
Excuse me. Essentially, human beings, I would make allowances that we do relax our expectations and our standards from time to time, which can lead to sin.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, humans are subject to be influenced, right?
Mm-hmm. And the Yetzer Hara is there to do its job of influencing.
That's right. Okay. So that's one example. Now, one second. Let's move on.
Well, may I ask then, what did you want to bring out?
I'm in the middle of that. I'm still gathering momentum, as they say. Go over to this is Pasuk Yud Gimel 13. Now go to Chav Zayin 27.
Gimel of Zion. 20. That's 20. 23. Here's 27. Where's Chav Zion? That's the beginning of Shishi, is it?
Yes, that's right.
The im nefesh achas techeta bishgogo ma'an haaretz ba'aso no ba'aso ba'asoso achas mimitzvos Rishem Shelo Ta'aseh Zena the Ashem. So now we've got the Im Nefesh. And here it is, and if.
Oh, really? They changed it.
And if a soul of the common people sin in error while he does somewhat against any of the commandments of the Eternal concerning things which ought not to be done and incur guilt, or if he sins, sometimes the next verse. So, and if a soul,
Right. Right. And you can take another look and take another pasuk in chapter Hay,
Mhm.
5. Take a look in pasuk Yud Zion 17.
All right, chapter 8, Elephants, Gimel, Dalet, High, Vov, Hey, Dalet, Hey, oops. And what did you say for the posuk?
That was Yud Zion, I think it was. 1 second.
Posuk is
17, yes, 17.
Yud Zion, or here, is this Yud Zion or Yud Zion? The Im Nefesh. It's also here and if.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's
So why in the first one, whatever it was that they said it was different? What was it?
that was in Yud Gimel, pasuk Yud Gimel.
The Im, here we are.
So you should be seeing there should be a pattern here, right? You see a pattern?
No, I mean, no.
Using the expression v'im, right? This expression v'im. It's not speaking in the definitive terms, right?
The Im, and when the sin, they have sinned, but it's, why have I got, and if, oh, sorry, and if,
That's right. That's the name of the
and if the whole congregation, right, I'm sorry, I said the wrong posuk in English. The Im Kol Adas Yisrael, that's what I was going to ask you now. Why have I got a different translation here? And I haven't. I read the wrong one. And if the whole congregation of Israel and the thing they hid from the eyes of the assembly, they have done somewhat against the commandments of the Eternal that shouldn't be done. So it is and if there. It is and if there. Yeah, right, it is and if.
Right. Now we have. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't see properly the numbering of the Pesukim was so small that I couldn't really read it properly.
Okay, fine, no problem.
Now I see. All right. So that's the whole congregation.
Okay, so we see a pattern.
So of the common people.
Right. The pattern is that it's always the pasuk seems to be the Torah seems to always be phrasing the situation in the doubtful future. I mean, we don't nothing's taken for granted that there's going to be a sin over here, right? If there'll be a sin that's been done, right? If there's going to be a sin that's going to be done, so then the proper rectification is to bring the korban after the sin has been done. There's no prediction that there's going to be any sin being done. Now, in contrast, I want you to take a look at this point. This is what we're getting to here. Take a look at the pasuk in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is the no, 1 second, am I right? Where is it? 1 second. Yes, yeah, chapter 4, verse 22. Verse 22.
Mhm. Chapter 4, verse 22, Kof base. Asher Nasi Yecheta V'asa Achas Mikol Mitzvos Ad Hashem Elahav Asher Lo Sa'asena Bishgogo V'Oshem. Says Asher Nasi, when it says when a prince has sinned and done somewhat in error against any of the commandments of the eternal his God concerning things which should not be done and has incurred guilt. And then the next verse starts off, or if his sin, wherein it sinned. But our 122, when a prince has sinned, it's a definite.
Oh, now that's exactly the point. That is the point. You said it very well, Roy. That it's a definite. It's a definite. So that's the question that we can ask here. In the other cases that the Torah brought down, the Torah framed it in a situation of suffix, of perhaps. But here, when it's referring to a nasi, a prince, a leader of some sort, it's framed in the definitive. So that's something which is important to try and understand.
So are we to infer that we expect a title to sin, a titled person to sin, and we're not too sure if the community will sin.
Right. Neither by the any particular individual. Right. Any particular individual. Meaning, in both cases, I mean, there's a straightforward answer which we can give. Number one, for the whole congregation to sin. So that's a pretty. I mean, again, we're just looking at the simplicity of things. I mean, because the whole Gemara, Gemara and Horius, that goes into what does it mean that called each and every person, even by the Chet Egel, not every person was involved with the Chet Egel, right? So it's very rarely that you're going to find a complete whole population doing something wrong, right? Not so common a thing that you have a whole population doing something wrong, and by the individual. So it's not definitive that each and every individual within the population. So there will be certain people yes, certain people no. But here, when it comes, and this is our basic question we have to try and address, when he talks about the nasi, which is basically a leader of some sort, it seems to be there's going to be a definitive situation that he's going to say. So why, the question we have to think about is, why should that be? Why is it? Yeah.
It's easier for him to sin, or her, because he's got such high standards to live up to all the time, that he's got more chances to trip over
Mhm.
than the ordinary person.
Uh,
So hopefully, if I do something wrong, it's not it's not that bad. But if someone who's got more responsibilities for the community than I have does the same thing, exactly the same thing wrong as I do, maybe he'll cop it worse than me.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think. Uh, using a secular example. I mean, I don't know. It seems to be that I don't know. I don't follow what's going on in the world at all. But it seems to be that the judicial systems of the various different countries in the world are pretty busy persecuting their own politicians.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. But there's a difference between people against people as against Hashem punishing people.
Yeah, that's
For the people punishing people as against Hashem punishing people. I don't think you could say Hashem against people, because I don't think Hashem is actually against anybody.
no, no, you're right. Hashem is completely anything that Hashem is going to be doing is going to be completely merciful in all ways possible. But sometimes it has to be justice. There has to be justice sometimes, but the justice itself is a very compassionate thing, right? We don't realize the benefits of justice. When justice is carried out, right? It and there are Gemorahs in Chazal that speak about this. It's not my own idea. When justice is carried out, that actually brings a bracha, benefits and success to the world. And when justice is not carried out, it actually brings a corruption to the world. Corruption to the world. So very beneficial if there'll be, and that's one of the reasons why you know that the Goyim have 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noah. And actually, they have many more mitzvahs. They have many more mitzvahs than 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noah. But what's unique about the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noah? Those are 7 mitzvahs which they chayev misa. There's a death penalty for them if they don't fulfill these 7 commandments. The many other mitzvahs that they have, they're commanded, but there may not be a punishment of misa. And one of the things, as you know, is that the non-Jews are required that they have judicial systems. That is one of their basic commandments from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they have to have judicial systems and they have to carry out laws amongst each other. That's why, if you remember what we discussed as we touched on it very briefly, not in any detail, the question was asked, how could Shimon and Levi destroy the whole city of Shechem? Meaning they killed out a whole city. That, I'm not sure how populous the city was, but I'm sure there was a fair amount of people there, killed out the whole city. How could they destroy a whole city of people? So the answer is given is since they were not prosecuting Shechem for his kidnap of Dinah, right? So they were all chayev misa. They were all obligated to die because they didn't fulfill their mitzvahs of Zayim mitzvahs b'nei Noah. That one thing they're commanded they can't kidnap people, and he kidnapped her, and she was held captive, and the Beis Din, well, that's not the Beis Din, I don't know, but the court system of Shechem did not prosecute Shechem for his crime, and so therefore Shimon and Levi took justice into their own hands with the swords, and slew the whole city. Another case we see is that by Sodom, right? They had they had a certain amount of judicial system, but it was corrupt. It was corrupt judicial system, and so therefore, that was part of what their crime was, that they suffered also destruction from. So very important that even though they only have 7 mitzvahs, that those 7 mitzvahs be kept seriously, because if not, they chayav misa. And one of them, as we mentioned, is that they have judicial systems. So the Rashi, if you see the Rashi by that pasuk by the Nasi, by that was the Nasi was Chav's
Yes, that was good. Oh, hang on.
22.
What one was it? Now, Dullard,
Dalet Chav Beis.
Hoff,
They
yeah, I've got Hoff base. Or if his sin was made known to him. Oh no, Hoff base is 20. That's 20. Of the prince has sinned, right? Oh, that's right. I did have it on the right page. Yes, I mean the prince had. All right, Dullard, 22.
right.
A share, Nasi, Yetar. What is it? A share, Nasi, Yechetar. Right, the word Asher,
Right.
the word Asher is connected in meaning with Ashrei, happy. Happy is a generation whose prince, the king, takes care to bring an atonement sacrifice even for an inadvertent act of his. How much more certain is it that he will do penance for his willful sins? The Sifra has a mention here. Yeah. There's a reference to Sifra. Yeah.
It's that's the Medrash, right? Rashi's quoting the Medrash, the Sifra. That it's the word Asher is very similar. It's just missing a yud, right? Ashri. The word Ashri is Aleph Shin Reish Yud, and this is Asher Aleph Shin Reish. Excuse me. So you see from this that as Chazal Darshan, fortunate, Ashri, happy, fortunate is the generation that their prince, their leader, admits to his mistakes. Yes, meaning it could be that there are many different types of sins, what we call shoygeg, unintentional. Some are mazed, they're intentional. Some things, sometimes they're belligerent. They're made to cause anger. Many different types of motivations why things can be done, right? And they're all considered to be sins, because what's sin? Sin is its most basic understanding is sin is simply to disobey the commands of your father. It's in heaven, in the Yikari's Baruch. So you're not observing his wishes. So what can we do for a situation like that? What can we do for a generation like that? Like in Sodom, what can we do for a city like that? The Dor Mabel, what can we do with a situation where the whole generation is flagrantly disobeying the word of Hashem? Right? Every time we make a brocha, right? need the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam. So we say, blessed Hashem, and the expression Yud K Vav K is adnus. Adnus is like mastery, masterhood, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu has mastery over us, right? That we have to realize that Hashem has mastery over us, and that gives us it puts in perspective our place in life. We understand that Hashem is there in Gan Eden, so to speak, dealing with helping us in all ways, sending the Shefa Bracha, the blessings of heavenly influx of how do things happen in this world? Things happen in this world because Hashem deems that things that are in essence spiritual should have a physical existence, right?
Mhm. Well, we can't be,
Go ahead.
no, we can't be expected to keep tabs on everything.
Well, hopefully, you want to as a person grows and matures, hopefully things get there's less and less to keep track of. You're right. I mean, if a person is newly initiated and doesn't know anything about kashrus, how's he supposed to avoid making mistakes and avoid transgressions, right? So that's why the way that a person is supposed to try and avoid transgressions is by learning. If a person, so that'll protect him because he'll first and foremost, most basically, he'll learn what to avoid, right? But there's a very much greater benefit that the benefit of learning extends long beyond and outside of the essential realization of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the master over him, and he's the commander over him. And if we realize that we have this special relationship, that when we say Baruch atah Hashem, right, Melech Olam, so we say the Shem, that as I said, the Adnus, the master, he's master over us. He is our master. But there's another thing. Who is our master? Our master is a Kadosh Baruch Hu, who's the Melech. He's the king of the whole world. That we are subservient to the master of the world, the king of the world. So there's nothing that can't be bestowed upon us as long as we get ourselves ready and try and receive that influx of Siyata D'Shmaya blessing that comes into the world that brings spiritual it gives, see, Olam Hazeh, this world is a world where the spiritual is given a physical, concrete reality, right? And the way that this world is maintained is through the commandments of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? That's what Chazal say. The Chazal say if it was a moment the Torah wasn't being learned, right, that the world would return to Tohu Voh, the world would turn to void and nothingness, as it was originally before the creation was taking place. So when a person's thinking about this, so it gives him a special way of relating to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You can relate to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, as we've said many times. We say this on fast days on Rosh Hashanah, the expression Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Kadosh Baruch Hu is first and foremost, he's our father, and Malkeinu, he's our king. So why do the question is asked, why do we need both of these aspects? He's our father and he's our king. So the basic answer is, first and foremost, that Hashem Avinu, he's our father. So of course we know that a father is loving his child endlessly. There's nothing a father wouldn't do for his son, for his daughter. Nevertheless, the father is limited. As much as he may love his children, as much as he loves to try and help them, and as much as he would really want to help them, but he's limited by resources, correct? He's limited by resources. So the expression of his love, and again, remember, we always talk about love is not an emotion. When the Torah refers to love, it's to an emotion. That's a non-Jewish concept which we've been exposed to in our exile, in our golus. But the Torah perspective of what Ava is, it's what we call Rachmanis. It's what we call doing something to somebody to help them in one way or another, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it may be. But you're doing something that's essentially going to benefit them. Now, the benefit of having a Kasher Baruch Hu as not only our father, but Malkeinu, the classic kings, like a king, everything in the kingdom belongs to the king. The king in general is not limited by resources, right? He has basically, almost by definition, the king has unlimited resources. So therefore, since the father, but just like the father has a limitation, the king also has a limitation. Meaning, the father has a limitation because he's limited in resources, and the king is limited in his ava, Meaning, you may have a king, you may even be a benevolent king, but that doesn't mean he likes you so much he's willing to give you everything. Even we had two weeks ago, if you remember Purim, the pasuk in the Megillah, Ad Achashverosh, the king, he asked Esther, Ad, what do you want? I'll give you Ad Chetzi Malchus. I'll give you half of the kingdom. Meaning, so as much as he liked Esther and as much as he would want to do, he's not willing to give his whole kingdom away for the queen. But nevertheless, that lack which the king has, the father complements that, because the father is unlimited in his desire to help the child, whereas his love is endless, and he therefore would want to do everything, but sometimes he's going to be limited because of resources. And the king, however, who's not limited in resources, but he's limited because of his ava. And so therefore we need to have both. We need to have Avinu Malkeinu. And if we have Avinu Malkeinu, then we can have the whole complete influx of the blessings that Hashem wants to dispose on everybody here in this world. Because that's the whole point. This whole world is existent. That's what when we learn, if you remember, the Nefesh HaChaim is based on many of these concepts, that the world is in existence because of the constant input of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire to see that there is such a world. And therefore, because of that desire slowly and surely becomes concrete and becomes fixed in physical forms. You see this especially now. Now we've entered into Nisan, right? Chodesh Aviv. I don't know if you had a chance to make the bracha on the trees, right? There's a minhag that people go on in the beginning of Nisan. We can do it the whole month of Nisan. Make bracha on trees, right? And it's it can't be just any fruit-bearing tree. It has to be a fruit-bearing tree that has still its flowers. It's still flowering, right? Still flowering. Do you have a chance to make that bracha yet, Roy?
Not yet, no.
Do they have places around you that?
I think so. If the summer 38 people haven't knocked them down.
Who the 30? What's that? 38? What's that?
The summer 38 construction sites.
What's that all about?
Summer 38.
Yeah.
The builders contract to fix up the whole building and put in a couple more stories, a couple more floors, and to give everybody else an extra room or something for free as a compensation for the troubles and all sorts of things. But in the process, as all builders do, they tend to lay waste to the surrounds. And so we had some fruit trees there. I'm not too sure what we've got now. We had Rimonim.
Yeah,
There was a Rimonim tree just across the road from us. Last year, the authorities of the wall of the wall, they put in two fruit trees in tubs just at the entrance.
yeah,
After you pass through the barrier.
interesting.
They
Okay,
did. I don't know if they're doing that this year.
interesting. Okay, very good. All right,
But anyways,
all right. So, yeah, so that shows because now especially the winter's coming to its close. We're going to change our prayers in a couple of weeks, the beginning of Pesach. We're up until now we've been davening, praying for rain, right? And now things are changing, and all that rain, and rain, as you know in Hebrew, it's called geshem, right? Which is very similar to the word gashmias. Gashmias and geshem are related, right? Because much of the existence of those things which exist in gashmias comes from the supply of water that's so vital for most things that are alive to need. Without the water, many things which are alive would cease to exist. So we want to take the opportunity now, especially in the beginning of Nisan, to find those trees and make that bracha about the wonderful benefits that Hashem gives us constantly. That with lo chaser klum, you look at the nusach of the bracha, we're lacking nothing, we're lacking nothing. Very, very interesting bracha to make, right? What Hashem is supplying to us, we're lacking nothing, and gives us all our good. So that's the benefit of the Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, who is endlessly loving us and desires to help, and Malkeinu, our King, who is unlimited in his resources. So the combination of Avinu Malkeinu gives us the knowledge and the faith that everything that we'll ever need will and can be supplied to us by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, very good. I think and that's why they asked the question, why does the Chag of Pesach have to come out specifically during Aviv, during the springtime, right? Because one of the main points is because we want people to realize the tremendous benefits that Hashem gave to us, and that's not going to be readily known in other times during the year. But here, especially now at the time of the beginning of the spring, the end of the winter, after we've been getting all this wonderful rain throughout the whole winter, and also Baruch Hashem, it wasn't such a cold winter. You know that it wasn't extremely cold. Roy, you were pretty comfortable most of the winter time.
More or less, I think, yes.
Yeah, pretty good.
We had the heater on a lot, but that's because we're elderly people. So,
Yeah.
what do you expect?
Yeah, well, you want to be comfortable. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, very true, very true. That the end of the winter and cold and rainy season, and then we're now entering the dry warm season, and it's all in order to supply us with our needs, as a Kadosh Baruch Hu knows and does much better than we could ever possibly even do ourselves. Good.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Right.
And that's also part of our preparations for Pesach, because Pesach was one of the big benefits of when Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim was at this time of year, right? It was a comfortable time of year to travel. Before we had, even it was only, even though it was a short time, but the Inani covered we got soon after we left Mitzrayim, right? And that protected us in the midbar, in the desert, from the heat of the day and the cold of the night, and other things that we were protected from as well. But that was a great benefit, and the fact that we maybe had only a few weeks where we didn't have the Inani covered, but during those few weeks where we were out and away from our homes and traveling, so it was a very great benefit that the season that Hashem took us out in was a season of comfortableness, not of distressful weather conditions. Okay, the wonderful Shabbos, and
Thank you, you too.
good, and we'll hope to see you. I guess we're going to be starting at 9:30s. We'll be starting 9:30s during the next few weeks during the Benedict, right?
Right.
That might give you a little more time to relax a bit more in the morning, or maybe have a few things to take care of before Passover comes. Right?
Okay.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat
Thank
Shalom, Lou. And be well, all of you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Luke. All right.